Welcome back to the Limitless Business Owners Podcast. This is Andrew, one of your hosts, with my business partner, Dan Fisher.
What's up, guys?
We're stoked to be here for episode 2. We had a great response to the podcast launching last week. There's probably 5 or 6 text messages just from people I know. They're like, man, this is so much needed. Thank you so much for rolling this out. A lot of encouragement, a lot of support. So we're really excited to continue this journey with you guys. And after launching that episode, we're like ready to go.
I really had I had no expectations for what was going to be launching, but I was very surprised with the excitement that everyone had and the support. I mean, it was really amazing to see people that I haven't talked to in a long time reach out and be like, hey, that was a really amazing podcast. You guys should keep going. So excited to keep that and keep people growing with us.
Absolutely. And it was really cool, just from friends that weren't even, business owners, that reached out like, man, that was really good. Like, so it's still good even outside of, who we actually speak to, that they were really, really excited for us and, just really excited to listen. And everyone's like, yeah, we're going to tune in next week. Well, here we are next week. Dan and I had some time to think about what we're going to be posting each week in the podcast. And we had a few people join the group too, the Limitless Business Owners Inner Circle group, where we go even deeper into a lot of these concepts that we talk about here and actually roll out some strategies and tactics to overcome some of these. We'll touch on them here a little bit, but inside of the group is where the major action happens. So
yeah, it's really the exclusive part. Podcast can get you so far, and then listening to it gives you some daily motivation. But really, where the group comes in, pardon me, is where everyone can help each other out and hold each other accountable to just their goals.
Absolutely.
And so, you're going to get 2 types of help. You're going to get some from the podcast, some from the group. But either way, we're happy that you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. And this podcast, I know we touched on it last week, why we made it, but we made it for business owners. It's not like the people that are at 100 million, 200. This is for the everyday business owner. I've had some great conversations with potential guests. Some of them like, hey, I'm not like the top of the top. It's like, hey, that's okay. You have a story, you have a journey, and we want to capture that. We want to capture some of the challenges. We want to capture some of those things, to help others realize that they're not alone in feeling. Because sometimes you can get like that. You can start feeling, hey, this is really tough. I don't have anyone around me. Well, hey, there's a lot of people that are feeling that. And we can all feel it together, and we can all navigate it together and get through it together. And really, this podcast was created to help, business owners become limitless, like truly feel like they have so much untapped potential, regardless of how high they go,
Yep.
And that's why Dan and I are doing this. So, I was out of town from Friday to Monday, and we went
you were in unplugged mode, man.
Yeah, I was in unplugged. It was tough. I was like, I kept finding myself pick up my phone, and I messaged Dan because I saw a message come through about some ads, and Dan,
I felt bad. I did feel bad about it. I knew I was like, I'm just gonna send it to you just so it's off my mind. But
yeah, and then and then Dan was like, hey, you're supposed to be enjoying nature or something, man. So I was like, okay, you call me out, I'll stop. But we had a good time. We had an interesting drive in to Gatlinburg. So I'll tell the story. I already told Dan's story one time, but it was interesting. And so we have a 6-month-old. So driving, the drive is 8 hours and 15 minutes from St. Louis to Gatlinburg, and you have to tack on 2 hours with a little one. You got to stop. She's got to eat. She gets restless. You don't want her sitting in the car seat for too long. So the first couple hours went great. Last 4 hours took us about 7 hours just because we had to stop every rest area. But she really did good. It's a tough time for a baby to sit that long. And so we lose an hour going there. So we left probably about 10 a.m. We're like, okay, we'll get there around 7, 8 p.m. And like I said, it took us about an extra 2.5 hours. And so we get into Gatlinburg. We're like, okay, great, almost there, 15, 20 minutes out. Well, then my GPS takes us a weird way. I don't know why it took us this way. So it's pitch black out. It's 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. It's dark out. And the GPS just took us this wicked way through the mountains. And of course, we're like, we want to get to the cabin because, we got to get our baby out of this car seat. She's been there for too long. It's late.
In Gatlinburg back roads.
Right. We're in the mountains. And man, there's like 90-degree turns with 40-degree declines, inclines. And at some point, my brakes felt like, like when you press your brakes too many times, they start getting hard. So it took us about 25 minutes to go 2 miles. And I'm not sure why the GPS took us this way. So then we get to the cabin and I go punch in the code. The code doesn't work to get in. Punch it in. Doesn't work again. Then I'm like, okay, I imagine it's going to lock me out. So one more time I try, it locks me out. I'm like, oh, great. Here we go. So we try to call the hosts, the Airbnb hosts. No, they're not picking up. So at some point we're just like, we got to go get a hotel. Like we have to go back. I have to go back this treacherous way. No guardrails, no nothing, to find a hotel. So luckily we found one.
Deliverance.
Yeah, right. And we try to keep a good mindset. But after you're driving all day, you're like, what the heck?
That's tough. That's really tough to do.
Yeah. So but then we were like, hey, we have a great story. It's a fun story to tell. And so found a hotel. It was all fine. The Airbnb people contacted me at 2 a.m. We're we're so sorry. The Wi-Fi went out, didn't accept the code. They reimbursed us. All was well. We had a great time, and we have a wicked story to tell about.
It's driving. A good mindset to keep about it.
Yeah, got to. I mean, of course, in the moment it was stressful because I'm like, I can't see anything. I have my high beams on. We're on these crazy roads. I'm holding my phone up so Jordan can look at the map and tell me when a turn's coming up because I'm just deadlocked on the road. So
right.
It was a good time. So it was a good time.
Well, I'm glad it went all right. I'm glad you had a great vacation too.
Yeah, I'm glad I made it back alive after that.
Exactly. Well, absolutely. That goes without saying.
Nope, guys. Today we have a good one. We are going to be talking about taking imperfect action, and this topic came up because when I think of Dan and kind of our how we got this started. Dan is the master at imperfect action. Okay. He's the one that kicked me in the butt after sitting on a lot of the things I was sitting on for a year and a half. And I just think to myself, man, where would I be if I would have taken some imperfect action earlier on? Because I wanted this. I was like, hey, it's not ready. It's not ready. It's not ready. It's not perfect. Look at those people that are, 5 years ahead of me. I got to compete with them. I got to put something out there that they've already done thousands of times. And it stopped me from doing it the first time.
Yeah, man. Whenever I saw that you had this for a year and a half, if you had started this a year and a half ago, you would be well out of my reach. I would have probably never met you. You would have been, I don't know, probably in San Diego, just enjoying 70-degree weather on an island that, if there's an island in San Diego,
right.
Making your own island in San Diego. But there's so much to say about it because whenever you go into so many people do it. And the reason I kind of got I don't want to call it a pass, but it's just a different experience is I grew up with ADD, not knowing I had ADD. What that allowed me to do and kind of became a superpower was I could go and start numerous things, and all of it was pretty much done imperfectly. Or, I was never shooting for straight A's because when you're someone with ADD, you don't always get that opportunity to get straight A's. Mm-hmm. So C's and whatever passes is what you're shooting for, and then whatever else you're interested in, that kind of takes the cake. So that's the priority, and that allowed me to really, once I found out what ADD was and that I had it, it allowed me to look back at some of the things I've done, and instead of me saying oh man, I was slacking off and this work I did was just kind of terrible, is actually a gift because I look back and even though a lot of it was imperfect or maybe had some failures along the way, it really benefits me because I don't have those inner thoughts that really tend to hold a lot of other people back. So if I can help anyone in any other way where those inner thoughts are really a battle for people, that's where I think we can start is kind of like the mindset.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, just because I'm the opposite, I'm like, it's got to be which is why, Dan and I, we dive into things and we figure things out like crazy because he pushes us to do it. We get in the middle of it. My perfectionism kicks in, but then he's like, nope, it's good enough. So it's a great middle ground. And it's really tough, like defeating those inner thoughts, right? Because those inner thoughts hold you back from rolling something out, from making a change in your business, from taking maybe a leap and asking someone for to get their business, so on and so forth. They can stop you. Those thoughts of like, hey, what if it fails? What if this idea fails? What if people don't like it? Mm-hmm. What if it's not the best when I roll it out the first time? And I know some of those are the thoughts that I would have. I'm like, hey, it's never ready. It's like I would always, it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. And then you get those demon thoughts. It's like, it's not going to be good enough, or hey, there's so many other people that can do this better than you. So just don't do it.
That's a big one.
And those are the things that I know I thought a lot with a lot of this stuff. And, I mean, heck, even we can even talk about this podcast, we could have sat and tried to make it perfect, make the audio perfect, make the video perfect, wait till we were in a $5 million studio with the best of the best. And we never would get there ever because
there's certain levels along the way that you need to hit, like if we built, let's say we had money and we built a studio that was capable of producing multiple podcasts. We had interviews in person. Like there's so much that we missed in between there that we have no idea how to even work. Like, maybe we need to learn the audio levels ourselves. Maybe we need to figure out like who's the better person to ask with audio questions. Like all of those things, when you just skip them and you're just put in that position of like, okay, now run this. It's not like a franchise where everything's built for you and it's been been done for years. This is something where you have to kind of customize it to yourself. So there's not a structure. And whenever you mentioned like the A+ or what if it's not A+ grade work, kind of reminded me of like a lot of people are used to the structure of school, and because I mean we're raised with it, right? So it's like grade school, high school, college. And then you get into the corporate America, and that's just what you're kind of used to, like 9 to 5, do your thing and then go home. But starting a business isn't a school. You aren't graded. You don't have any structure that sets you up like school does. You don't have anyone to suck up to in case you mess up.
No teacher's pets, right?
Right.
It doesn't get you anywhere in business world.
It actually probably puts you down, like it's,
like, those people have bad kind of, those are the people who are like, I don't want to work with that person.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like an immediate red flag.
Absolutely.
And if you're used to school, like I think this is where it's important for the podcast and the group to kind of be your reset and have you shift your mentality to thinking differently about this process of starting or growing your business.
Well, and that's a great topic right there, even just on the thought process. Like we are never taught the thought processes that it takes to run a business and be successful because it's so kind of like wilderness feeling. And like Dan, it's not structured out, so it's probably why the business classes you were taught in like high school and even in college, they don't look that. I know true business owners, small business owners that don't have an MBA or something like that would run circles around the people that have an MBA.
Absolutely.
And the person with the MBA could not launch something from startup to, they might be able to go inside of an already established business that's already doing 50 million and help them get to set, so on and so forth, and implement right processes and make them think certain ways. But the thought process is something you have to learn, and why it's really, really important to put yourself around other business owners, because you feel like your thought process and how you're supposed to think is so different from everyone around you and is so different than the majority that it makes you feel like that thought process is wrong.
Right.
You know,
and there's two types of people too. So you have entrepreneurs. So you have people that are going out and starting new things. And then you have another type of person that people don't always know about, and they're really talented at it. And that's an entrepreneur. So like if you have, if you maybe entrepreneurial stuff isn't necessarily what you're best at, but what you're really good at is solving problems and just getting work done.
Yep. You're
actually more of an entrepreneur at that point. It doesn't matter what vehicle you ride. It just matters like getting your mindset right and getting those that maybe figured out, whether you're one or the other, and then finding the right team around you, finding the right people, and just making the best out of it.
Absolutely. And here's the reality, and this is, I know what can hold a lot of people back is, especially I shouldn't say especially beginning business owners, because I've seen this in established, thriving businesses. Is change is scary, and we typically hold on to the levels that we're currently at because we risk something to get to that level typically. So we spent time, we spent money, we grinded, we stubbed our toe a couple times. There's pain in that journey, but we took a journey to get there, and so we get to that level. And then we hold on to that level for dear life. And we're like, I can't risk this level because X, Y, Z. And it's a very, very fear of loss mindset. And we have to overcome that fear of loss mindset. We have to make sure that we have our mindset in a growth type mindset. And here's the reality is, and it's a question, isn't progress, isn't that change? Like anytime we progress forward, things are going to change. And we can't expect to hold on to what we have and expect different results at the end of the day. Like whatever you're doing is getting you the results you're getting right now. You have to change. And sometimes that's mindsets. That's typically thoughts, mindsets, which lead to different actions, and a commitment to those actions to come out on the better side with clean, better results.
Yeah, I'm going to give everyone a little gift. And I was given this from one of the insurance companies that I work with is Northwestern Mutual. And actually, I think they follow me, so I'm sure they'll appreciate this. But last week I mentioned that people are kind of chasing comfort, and Andrew kind of touched on it just now. And there's a comfort zone that people are kind of chasing, which is an interesting mindset in itself. And then there's also the growth zone. And what I was told whenever I was probably 19 in college is there's no comfort in the growth zone, and there's no growth in the comfort zone. And at the time I didn't realize how important that was. But whenever you're always trying to, like, humans just naturally are looking to better themselves. And when you're in the comfort zone, you're not necessarily doing anything. You're not challenging yourself. You don't have that like uncomfortable feeling that we're always talking about. You're really staying stagnant, and it will definitely show. And if you're staying stagnant, like it plateaus and then it goes down. It never goes up if you're staying stagnant.
Yeah.
So if you always have to be chasing that growth zone, you're not going to be comfortable. And if you're chasing that comfort zone, you're not going to grow.
Well, and that's not, and I don't want you guys to think like, hey, I am 100% going to be in a growth zone all the time. Like our default is comfort zone. So, so we are always going to revert to that comfort zone, which is going to stop growth. And then that's where you have to get through that thought process, that mindset, be around the right people, hear the right things to say, okay, no, I got to grow. And it's an intentional thing. So if you haven't intentionally looked for or gone after growth, that means probably in a comfort zone. And you probably need to take an audit, ask yourself some questions. Okay, Am I sitting here because I'm too attached to what my current level of operation or how my life is, or do I need to change some things to grow to the next level? And if your answer is no, I haven't been challenging myself to grow in several levels, then you found yourself in a comfort zone. And look, the best of the best find themselves there. Like,
yep.
It's a default for every single human being. We default to that comfort zone.
Society kind of teaches people that way. Like I've heard this so often. They're like, I just got to have I got to have like 2 to 5 years at this job, or 2 years minimum. And it's like, yes, it's good to hold a job for that long, but are you holding it for the wrong reasons? Are you holding it just because your resume you want your resume to say that, or are you holding it because you actually enjoy the job? Like, have some value in yourself, and take the next challenge and go to the next job. You do not. I am the number one biggest resource to look at. 31 jobs. No one questioned why I had so many.
Yeah, and they don't.
Right.
And they don't. So get yourself out of that comfort zone. If you're there, hey, have grace for yourself. It's okay. We all find ourselves there, but you have to start asking the right questions and taking the right actions to get out of that comfort zone. Yep. And look, we're not saying, like Dan and I were talking about this yesterday. It's not like you got to be reckless, and we're not saying, hey, go ahead and get a $300,000 business loan. We're saying you got to take, this journey is about taking calculated risks, right? And if you don't like risks, then this journey isn't for you.
Yep.
Right. I don't think, well, I should rephrase that. It's not if you don't like risk. Nobody likes risk, right?
It's right.
It's the thing on the other side of risk that we like. And so it's necessary to take risk to get the other result, a different result, right? Now, obviously risk comes with things you could lose, right? So that's why we have to take calculated risks, and we have to kind of be smart about the decisions we make, but we also can't be scared of losing what we have. And so maybe it's those things that you've pushed off. Maybe it's you're the business owner, and you have been pushing off a new way of operating your business. Maybe you need to change your role as a business owner, of stepping out of one place, hiring somebody else to take that place, and taking the risk that they're not going to do it just as good as you, but it's going to expand your business. And on the other side of the risk is a higher level of operation. Okay, maybe it's it's an idea that you've been sitting on, and you are wondering if people are going to like this new idea, right? So the risk is, hey, I'm going to spend some time and some money rolling this idea out, and I don't know if the payoff is going to be on the other side of it, right? And really, like I mentioned earlier, what it comes down to is you're scared of wasting money or time. And time is obviously your biggest asset. Dollars can be made, but we typically, when we get ourselves in a comfort zone, we've become deadlocked. We become controlled by that fear of loss, that fear of losing, wasting time or money, and it holds us back from future successes.
So some people even fear success. And it's totally okay to do that, because I've definitely done that. Like, I have been to the point where I've maybe been close to a certain success, and my brain wants to be like, okay, let's start another project, because I'm getting to the point where I can be held accountable, and maybe there's going to be some client issues, or maybe there's going to be something that, like, it's going to suck feeling it. So like, my default back in the day was like, let's start another group, and or start another business. And it's like, it gets old, because every time that you do that, a business is just like a flywheel, just like they say in Good to Great. It's just like a flywheel. And if you're pushing that and you get it moving, next thing you know, you go to another flywheel and start pushing it. That flywheel on the other side is going to stop. The other one is going to be harder to push. And then another thing is, so going back to fear, is that, fear is something that the person that is feeling the fear is the only one that knows that fear is there, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. It's a little confusing. So you're the only person that feels the fear that you're going through. No one else does.
Right.
And it's completely relative. Therefore, it is actually your responsibility to diagnose it and treat it. There's so many different ways to do those, but you at least have to take the initiative. Like Andrew said, whenever you're kind of in that comfort zone and you're not, maybe you have an idea, get something on paper. Like just get one step started.
Well, and even on that, while you're the only person that feels that fear, there's other people that reap the repercussions of you, feeling
Absolutely. That's a great point.
So we have to think about that. We don't always just think about, and this is one thing, if you guys want to research, there's first order, second order, and third order consequences. So first order is like, I'm feeling the fear, so I'm not going to go implement, or I'm not going to go do this. Okay. But the second order consequence of that is like, okay, well then you're not going to grow and employ 3 more people and be a life change, have them experience a life change by working for you, And then the third order consequence of that is, maybe it affects something in their life, So you got to think about those, because typically it's not just first order consequences that drive our results. We have to, when we start thinking about the second, it gets more exciting, So it's like, okay, first order here is my thing doesn't get implemented, but then this doesn't happen. Well, I want to be, I know for, a thriving, business owner, you want to have a place of employment for people that is great. You want a great culture. You want to change people's lives, not just your clients or customers, but your employees.
Yep.
So you got to think about that, and you got to weigh the odds. And that's where we're talking about taking some calculated risk. And, I experienced this at one of my jobs, at the number 2 to the business owner. And he built a great business, but had to change how he did things to move to the next level. He had to step away from doing sales and hopping into the main, I would say the main flow of the business, right? And he had to lead. He had to step back and lead, and hire and trust people. And the second he started doing that, and it was never easy, right? And the person being on the outside, right? Like I wasn't the business owner, so I didn't have those deep feelings of connection to the business. It's always different for the business owner, right? Because you have these, It's like your baby, right? It's like, I can't do that. It's like, no, yeah, we need to push you, It's almost like, your kid being in sports and the coach, you wouldn't say something to your kid, but the coach will, because the coach doesn't have those feelings, that they have to deal with. Same thing there, so, but we made a couple changes, hired some people, made changes to processes that he built the business on. And it's like, wait, it's been working. We can't get rid of it. It's like, no, we have to try something. And here's the thing is we had to try something new and test it. And that's important, is test it. This is where my science background comes in, is I'm always testing. So it's like, okay, let's just try it for a month and let's see how this works. Let's see the results of it. Okay. And so you don't ever have to commit to something 100%. You do need to give things their due diligence and time, but test it. Say, okay, I'm going to implement this new process. I'm going to start operating in a different way for 30, 45 days. And then we're going to see what the results are of that, have some sort of way to measure it, so on and so forth. But owners, you set the tone for your business, and you have to fight the feelings of shrinking and protecting where you're at. And you have to take those calculated risks and test things.
And you can't clone yourself.
No,
everyone says that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I can only do this with a salesperson that can do as good as myself, but it's not true. Like you're probably going to have to hire maybe 2 to 3 people to probably put out the workload that you can. And that's one thing you got to get used to, is the output's going to be a little different, but you invest in people and you're going to get those results, later down the line.
Well, and it's tougher. It's different. So, I mean, and Dan, I know you can relate to this. So, I hired another ad guy to help, in Insight. And, obviously I had like certain ways we did business, right? There's certain
Right.
naming schemes we use, so on and so forth, for our campaigns, for our ad sets, all the above, it was tough for me because I did the ads.
Yep.
Like I was the ad guy, so I did the ads. So it took some time to get used to that flow, and my communication had to change. So versus like, I got to go just make the change, and, I had to coach, I had to become a leader to him. And then I hired a design guy too. And it's the same way. It's like, well, I always did the design, yep. And like, that's a very, like you cap your business by that language. Like, well, I did it. So, and I know I'm better. Of course we're going to think we're better than, but if they can do it 80% as good as you,
yep,
let it go. Let them do
it. And sometimes
it.
It grows into being better than you, and you just never gave them the opportunity.
Absolutely. And that's like the mantle of a leader, right? It's like you unlock that potential in people. So like business owners, we need to stop getting in this, like, I do everything. And look, there's a certain stage of business where you have to, like, if you can't go hire people with money that you don't have or that you're not making. It's just that simple. Right. So there's one of my biggest
weaknesses, and sorry to interrupt.
No.
My one of my biggest weaknesses was getting the processes out of my brain and into the SOP or on paper or training. And I that was just the biggest struggle for me. It wasn't necessarily the hiring. It was like, once they're hired, it was like they were almost doing nothing.
There's a lot of work.
I was like, because I wasn't giving them the processes.
Yep. Yeah. And that's tough. That's the tough thing, is like, but once again, Dan, you got used to operate, you did it. So it's like you had to change the way you operated. You had to create some things. You had to pull some things out, get some things down. And now you're kind of like managing, like, okay, are they following the process? Right. And, like I said, you have to always take the route of a leader and choose that, right? It's easy to choose, like, I'm going to be the person that just gets it done. And as a business owner, you always have that. There's always going to be a time where you might have to hop in. One of my favorite people owns a couple of Jimmy John's. I shouldn't say a lot of Jimmy John's around St. Louis. And I walked into one day. And he owns, I think, 15 plus Jimmy John's now. He probably doesn't want me to say this, but I won't mention his name. He's an awesome person. True role model. And he was making sandwiches. And I was like, hey man, what are you doing? Like, you own, he's like, well, someone called out today and we were short-handed. So I had to, no one could cover. So I did it.
That's pretty awesome.
So I'm not saying you're always like, there's gonna be times you have to hop back in, and do it. And that's the true, true mark of a leader right there. Absolutely.
Right.
So we have to work for new levels, and not just like, I'm not talking about action, but we have to work, our head. We have to work for those new levels. And then, you become comfortable at those new levels, right?
Yeah.
So you work for a new level, and then you get comfortable, and then you have to make the active decision of, I need to level up again and go to the next level. And if you're not always trying something new, you're doing something wrong. Yeah.
If you don't feel uncomfortable once a week, once a day, you should always be striving for it. I always kind of look at it as, my Nintendo, Sega people. I'm sure most of our audience knows that.
Absolutely.
I hope they know that. We might be getting to the point where they might not know what that is.
Soon is going to be an Xbox 360. Soon.
My goodness.
Soon
that's true. That would be a starting point.
The dinosaur. It's like, what?
But yeah, if anyone that's played a video game, you realize that, on level 1 or 2, you're fighting these things that are like the bosses or the end of the level. And next thing you know, in level 4 and 5, those bosses are actually the small little creatures that you're, taking over or killing or whatever, throughout the whole level. So like, that's exactly what happens in life. Like the more that you accumulate, the more experience that you go through, like everything gets easier. I remember thinking like onboarding and sales, and like, I remember going through stages where I just absolutely despised even the start of doing those things. But now, getting on a sales call is just talking about the business. Like I know that back and front, like I will tell you everything I know. And, it's not even a sales call at that point. It's just telling you like, hey, this is what we got. Is it a fit?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's really, you master those levels as you push through the challenges.
Well, yeah. And, this is just the art of taking imperfect action is like, you want it to be perfect, if we all have that excellence, like we want it to be excellent, but we can't let the pursuit of perfection stop us or halt us from making progress and moving forward.
Right.
That was me. I was scared of knowing if people would like what we're rolling out right now. I was scared that people wouldn't listen to the podcast. I was scared. Fear. And that's why I'm grateful for Dan.
Well, I'm grateful for you as well. Were you ever scared of people judging it? I think that's one thing that I get in my head about.
That was probably the biggest thing is like, man, people are going to, and you always assume the worst, right? Like people are going to, I don't have the manliest voice ever, so it's like, well, they just want to, and like you have those insecurities, you think about those things, and it really does stop you. And it's like, no, we're going to spit this out. And like I said, I had to put on a different mindset. No, we're going to get this out. We're going to do this. People are going to love it versus saying, you know what, no one's going to listen. Woe is me. It's like, no, we are going to go do this. And, maybe we don't have 200 people listening to episode 1, but we're going to have 200 people listening by episode 10. And then we're going to have 2,000 people listen by episode 100. And you climb. It's like Dan said, it's these levels. And to expect that you're going to pop out on level 10 when you haven't gone through level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you have flawed thinking. And you need to correct your expectations. And those aren't easy to correct if we don't have perspective from those around us. I gained that perspective by being around other people that are further than me, that are with me, and that are below me too. Because the people that you see having 10 million, 15, $20 million businesses, they didn't do that in one day. A lot of them, it took them 10 plus years.
Yep.
And they're like, well, now we're here, and people just assume that they don't go through that stuff because they're not proximate anymore to the beginning stages.
Yeah, and we were also in a position 10 years ago where social media wasn't as common as to completely report everything in your life. We're probably going to see a little bit now where people can see the journey and probably hop in, maybe knowing what the journey is going to be like. So we're kind of given a gift of exposure, but there's still going to be a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, because what they're going to show you most likely is going to be the highlight reel. What you need to expect, and what we kind of train in the group is just like, there's going to be some bad days. And I always have the saying where like if you have a bad day, more than likely, and you keep showing up, you're going to have a great day either the next day or probably within that week. It has always happened to me. And that just means that you're uncomfortable in a spot where your business maybe not doing so well. You take the next day and you're hunting, you're going out and prospecting, or you're setting out proposals. So next thing you know, you're going to get all these people back in, and then you have a great day and you grow from that.
Absolutely. And don't let the bad days deter you from creating a good day, because you can start developing those thoughts on a bad day. But, more likely to say, hey, I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to get this. You're going to make good progress on it. So Dan and I wrote some ways to just do it. I really hope we don't get sued by Nike. Just do it. They're not a sponsor for this by any means, but
if they're willing to,
no, but some ways to just do it. You have to realize that nothing is permanent. Okay. You can always revert back and relaunch. And here's the thing, you could always recraft impressions with people. And I know that that's a big thing, because people are like, what are they going to think of me? Like Dan said earlier, that was a thought. Or they're going to judge it. They're going to judge me. Nothing is permanent. Okay.
Yep.
And that's one thing that a lot of these bigger businesses do. When I talk about, I'm going to use some tech giants, Facebook, Google. Obviously they can withstand that if we roll something out, it doesn't fit, we roll it back, but they do that all the time. They roll out features. They don't like it. They do a subset, a small trial group. People don't like it. Well, we never release it. to everyone, so you can think that on a more micro scale. Like I said earlier, you can test things. Hey, let's try this for 7 days. And actually that's when you start learning really about how to get better, right? We're going to try it this way. Let's see what the response is. Oh, nope, the response wasn't good. Roll it back. We're going to go back to how we did it. And then we're going to try it a different way,
Right.
Really, really, really important. Nothing is permanent.
Yeah. And one thing that I see a lot is just if you can find the balance between your creation and your launch, that's where you're going to win, because you can't just launch nothing. You can't just go out and be there. You can't launch with no product and be like, I'm going to sell you this.
Yep.
And having no research or knowledge about what you're selling. On the other hand, you can't spend, a year and a half. I'm just kidding.
No, I feel that. I feel that hard.
You can't spend all your time creating it. Yep. So you, let's see, you can't spend all your time like basically going through all the things, making it perfect, and then going through and being like, I'm going to launch this one day, because you really won't. So like if you find that balance of launching something that might be messy, I guarantee you, your first client, you will change exactly what you created. If you spend all that time creating it, or if you spent a couple of weeks creating it, you're still going to change it. Like you're adjusting the feedback, you're adjusting to what might work, what maybe the payments, maybe the payments don't work that you created. Like everything's going to change about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Processes change, ideas change. To be honest, when we launched Limitless, we had a thought of what it was going to be like, and then we were like, no, it's going to be this instead, and that's just. But and I'm going to use this is a really dumb example. I've never known if I can grow a beard, so I've never tried, because I'm like, I don't want to be disappointed if I can't grow a beard. So if I don't try it, or if I don't try it, I can't be disappointed.
Right.
We do that in our business, right? So it's, oh, well, I don't want to be disappointed if the response isn't that great because I put out so much time and effort. Fear of loss. I don't want to waste my time or money. I've spent a lot of time and effort crafting these processes. And if the first client, they all go to crap, then I wasted time. No, you didn't waste time. You didn't waste anything. You were taking the necessary steps it takes. 0.0001% of people actually, I don't know if that's a stat. They say all stats are made up, but actually get it right the first time, right? So you're talking like the unicorn that actually rolls something out and it's great. Like flawless, doesn't have to be touched ever again. I'm telling you, it doesn't happen. Unicorns don't exist. Okay.
I can't believe that.
Yeah. But what you do find is people that are willing to battle through and figure it out. And that leads to the next thing, is another way to just do it is you have to have a whatever it takes mentality. We go deeper into this in the group, but this is like one of our core staples for my mindset is you have to have a whatever it takes mentality, and you're not going to settle for the status quo. Okay. So what that means is, it's pretty, I know it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to do whatever it takes. So if I roll this out and it doesn't get received the way I want it to receive, well, then I'm going to do whatever it takes to make the necessary changes to re-roll it out, recraft it. I'm going to do whatever it takes, without the thought of I'm going to waste my time or money. You're going to do whatever it takes. Now we're not saying take dumb action and like I said, go spend. That's a mistake I made in my first business was I spent $15,000 on a website build. It's like looking back, I'm like, man, I could have done that so differently.
Just the website?
Just the website itself.
Oh,
but
man,
it was it was a bunch. It had a lot of functionality. Like a lot of data and stuff. I sold it to a few people, but it's like I shouldn't have done it like that. That was dumb action. That is not wise action.
But you learned from it.
I learned from it. Yeah, like I said, that was going to school another year because I paid $15,000. So you have to kick the fear of change to the curb. Okay, this is some ways to just do it. Number 3, kick the fear of change to the curb. And we talked about this earlier. Too many of us build our business up to a certain spot, and then we stop innovating, we stop creating, we stop because we want to protect our current level of operation. So, if you're not thinking what's the next level for me, and that might not be what you think it looks like. That might be, hey, is there some sort of different offer we can offer people? That's difficult, right? Maybe it's maybe I need to step away from the business. Maybe I need to change something in my life, my personal. Maybe I've been working 16-hour days and I've been taking care of myself. So maybe I need to be a great example to my employees. And if I want them to take care of themselves, and I'm going to actually just work 40 hours this week and the next week, and I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to, take care of my mind. I'm going to, do these certain things. That is just as important. But we stop taking risks at some point to protect our current level of operation. But the biggest risk to take is to stop taking action on growth, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. It's number 3, to just do it.
Yeah, kick that fear out. And another easy one, it's actually a lot easier with social media, is surround yourself with amazing people. Surround yourself with people who have been there. If your local Homer friends aren't doing it for you, go virtual. Join a Facebook group. Like, join our group. There's so many ways that you can network with people, not only nationwide, but worldwide. I work with people in Mumbai. I work with people in South Africa. Mm-hmm. I work with people all over the world because we have this wonderful thing called the internet and everything that it gives us. So surround yourself with some of the people that are out there, that are willing. Like, all it takes is just a quick maybe DM. Maybe you hire them as a client. Like, there's so many ways to get people into your inner circle that you can be creative with. But that's where you got to start, like, filling yourself where people can actually pull you up to their level.
Absolutely. That's so good, Dan. Last thing is, you got to put the prep work in. So, Dan touched on this earlier, but you can't just not create and then just go do. Like, you have to have some sort of preparation, because you do want to operate in excellence, but excellence isn't perfect. Excellence might look a little bit different than what you think excellent is. But you have to realize that step 1 is you got to go, you got to do, and then you improve. That's step 1 is go. Okay. And then you improve it. Right. Is one of the there's a quote from Thomas Edison. I love this quote. And this is kind of the mindset you have to adapt. And we can have a different conversation about who you think really created, found electricity, created electricity, whatever. But I'm going with Thomas Edison right now.
There you go.
He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." So I haven't failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So imagine if you would have tried the first time and like, oh, you know what? I guess I can't do this. I guess we're just no one's going to like what I'm doing. We're done. We'll figure it out maybe later. But he was not scared of wasting time, wasted money. He went after it, and he said, I found 10,000 ways that don't work. I haven't failed yet, because there's still a way that works, that's out there, that I've just eliminated. Process of elimination. It might take me 20,000 ways to work, and I'm going to find that success.
I love that saying.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And I can't think of a time when there was an imperfect action or launch of something that didn't go right. Eventually, if you're committed to what you're doing, you will find the way, and it might eliminate, like Thomas said, might eliminate a way that say, hey, we can't do that, but then now we can focus eyes on this, and it helps you discover what you need to be doing. So,
yep, just being consistent. Keep being consistent after the action.
Absolutely. Rock and roll, guys. Well, hey, we are going to wrap this episode up. Appreciate you guys listening all the way through. We would greatly appreciate it if you rated and reviewed the show on whatever platform or multiple platforms that you guys are listening. Share it on your social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's how we grow. And that means that we're able to help more business owners. When we grow, it's not just, we don't get paid for doing the podcast. We don't do any of that kind of stuff. But we're able to help more business owners overcome and become limitless. Okay. And the more you share, the more you're helping others, right? So you share it. You never know, one of your friends that is a business owner that you may not have reached out to yet might see it, go listen, and it could really change their life, change their business. Okay. And if you want to hop into the limitless inner circle for business owners, the founders deal is almost out. We had a few more people join and spots are filling up. Okay. So after the founders deal is over and after we're filled up, it doesn't mean we're not taking people. It just means, hey, we're not dishing out this founders deal anymore. The price will triple. Okay. The price will go up to $97 a month, which is still a killer deal. We really don't expect it to be at $97 a month. It's going to move up after that. But once the spots are taken, enough people come in on the founders deal, which we're getting a couple signups here. And you can get it right now for $197 lifetime access. Okay. Or you can get it for a third of the price per month, $37 a month, right? We will never have a lifetime access option again. So this is your last chance. We expect I know we're in a conversation with a few people that are thinking about hopping in. So if you're going to do it, I would do it ASAP and hop in. Okay. Everyone that joins with the founders deal right now gets a free 30-minute one-on-one with myself, Dan. We could talk about your business, talk about some one-on-one custom ideas, brainstorming sessions, ways you can grow, ways you can improve. And then obviously when you're in the group, you get our live trainings. We post several times a week. We're going to have special guests that aren't going to be on the podcast. Some of the guests that we are going to have on the podcast, we're going to do a deeper dive with them. You get the 7-part series for the scaling your business, where we talk about more online stuff, which is Dan and I's specialty, where we start talking about ads, funnels. We're going to have a special mindset training in there. Whatever it takes mentality is going to be in that. And so on and so forth. And we're going to have partnership opportunities inside of the group as well, where you can hop in if you need something. You have another limitless business owner that is a trusted vendor. And
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. And honestly, just the networking is the biggest thing. You never know who you meet. Dan and I met in a group, and that's how you really, really start growing, adopting the right mindsets, adopting the right perspectives, which is the foundation for all future growth.
Right.
Awesome, guys. Well, it's been real. Can't wait till next week. Talk to you guys soon.